Welcome, everybody, to our first episode as we zoom in on the Jags here today. Here is where we sit down and talk with our student athletes and just get to know them a little bit better by asking questions that maybe we wouldn't ask otherwise. I'm Dr. Jeff Sherman, part of the School of Health and Human Sciences at IUPUI, and my first guest here today is IUPUI women's soccer senior forward, Valentine Pursey. She's also a sports management major, which puts her into my area. V, how are you doing today?
Doing pretty well. Had practice this afternoon that we're going to have, and I'm looking forward to that. But I'm excited to talk with you today.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to all of this. I'm looking forward to getting to know you even better than I already do, and I'm looking forward to getting to know the rest of the team. So let's start out first. Give us a little bit of background into who is V? Who's Valentine Pursey?
Well, I grew up in England, if you can tell from the accent. Grew up in a small little village in England in a place called Corner Cottage. In a three-leg cross is our street name. So for Americans, that's like, whoa.
Three-leg cross.
Yeah, three-leg cross. But I grew up with my brother, who's 7 years older than me, my sister, who's a couple years older than me, and my mum and dad. So very homebodied. But started playing soccer, football in England since I was 5 years old. My brother played, grew up playing, living, doing it pretty much 24/7. And then I got an opportunity to come here when I was 17, grabbed it with both hands, and I've been here since, kind of just living the dream, I guess.
So you're living the dream of playing football, soccer, however we want to discuss it, right? Here in the States. And so you have the opportunity over there to play at a really high level, and you come back here to the United States. And is there a culture shock there in soccer? Is there a difference of style of play, things like that?
Yeah, I mean, I was playing at a really high level in England. In England, it's a bit different. You play for your school, and that's kind of rec league. It's not as big as it is over here, I've realised. But I played for my club team, Brighton and Hove Albion, since I was 9, 10 years old, and then until I left when I was 17, 18. So I kind of grew through that and developed what we call kind of the technical and tactical side of my game by watching. And we're very technical and tactical in England. So it's like passing plays, short rondos, and small-sided stuff. So coming over here, that was why European players are kind of unique. We bring that aspect that you don't always have over here as an American player. So I kind of just developed my athleticism and my speed and my power here, and then kind of gifted the team and the players with showing them my technical side. So I learned the American way, and then I kind of gave my advice in what I kind of knew and learned more as I went along on the technical and tactical stuff. Because the US women's national team, I mean, they're unbeatable because they're powerful, they're aggressive, and winning is the only end goal, so in sight. But England are a bit more, I mean, it's hard to say, but a bit more reserved and a bit more, I guess, posh is the word I like to use. But I've definitely coming here and listening to everyone wants to win, and especially back in 2017, that team's goal and that team's ambition, that's the best year I've had in my career. So
she's back here. So
yeah.
Over here somewhere, there she is, right there, right? The 2017 Horizon League Championship team. So you're talking about bringing that technical side to the aggression that comes with the U.S. game. What about that? Did you have to, I guess, temper your patience? Because I know from having watched soccer for a long time, it's a much more patient game in England and in Europe for the most part than it is here. So did you have to temper that patience a little bit?
A little bit. I mean, we've played a few different formations now that I'm a senior and I've gone through a few years. When I came in, I mean, I'd been at the same team for 9, 10 years. So everything was new. Whether it was going to be a different team in England or a different team in the US, I mean, everything was new. So coming in as a freshman, I hadn't even turned 18 yet. I turned 18 when I'd been here. So it was just, I over prepared to make sure that I didn't know the standard, didn't really know much. I just, like I said, the opportunity to come here came up like 2016, late 2016, and then I signed in a couple of months before I came here. So I just threw myself in the deep end, over prepared, and then just enjoyed playing. I mean, it was very easy to slot into that team and just start playing our game. We play quite a kind of European style. We don't play the kick it down the field and just chase it. We work it out around the back. We play it through and combination play. So I was lucky that that's kind of our style, and I fit right in. We played a 4-3-3, and I was that number 9 that just kind of made sure I was in the right spot at the right time to kick it in the net type thing.
So let's dive into this picture behind me, right?
Yeah.
So that season, it's your first year, right?
Yeah.
So you guys go on and you win the whole darn thing. So how was that? How did that feel as being, I guess, the first year student coming from a completely different country, the culture shock, the change in lifestyle, I guess you could call it the loneliness at times, I'm sure, with family and being as close to your family as you are. How did that feel to get that title under your belt?
Like it was a dream. Like, I mean, like I said, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know if I was going to be. I knew I'm a good player. Like I got the opportunity, but growing up, I was never the star player, and I'm not saying I am now, but I was never like the star player who was always first on the team sheet. It was always like I was a grinding player. I'd work hard and I'd do what my coach says, and I'd work my socks off. But never that star in England. But I came here and I was like, I want to make a name for myself. I feel like I've always felt, and my family have instilled in me, that I'm good and I can play, but it's just getting that opportunity. And then I came here, and like no one on the team is European or English. Like I was the only English player on the team. So I mean, I got a bit of stick for my accent, which is, I mean, I deal with it still. It's every day, but I get used to it, and it's kind of, it made me unique, and I've always been unique in every aspect of my life. So it wasn't a shock to me to kind of go into that. But talking, I'm a people person. So I try to make friends. At first, I'm quite silent. You will know this from my class. I sit there, I won't say a word, but as soon as kind of I gain that connection with you, or we talk, then from then on, I'll be nice to you every time I see you. So it was a great group of girls, and that season is still, I mean, it was like a dream. Who would have thought? You come in, I played every game, I scored a bunch of goals, the team was amazing, the atmosphere was amazing, and then we won. So it literally, you wouldn't even write it in a book. So
That's quite the beginning to a college career when it comes to a student athlete. Let's just put it that way.
yeah.
So now let's kind of dive into a little bit more serious topics. So the COVID-19 pandemic, we've been gripped in it for months now, and it's closing in on a year. And you guys have been affected by it as a team, and we'll get into that in a moment. But you personally, being from England and seeing how fast everything occurred across the world before it even got here. So Italy was getting buried with it, and then all of a sudden it hit here, and in there the UK took a pretty good beating. So kind of talk about how that, I guess, impacted you, because I know you were looking about travel plans at the end of the year and things like that, and you were kind of up in the air on some things. So kind of talk a little bit about that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we were in our spring season when it kind of first started happening. We'd got 2 games under our belt. We were really starting to build momentum and have kind of a shift, because you lose your seniors and you've got to kind of figure things out again. And then March hits. It's spring break. I had planned to go to spring break with my mother in what was it? Florida. We went to Florida, but that was kind of when things were getting serious. People were having conversations like, is this thing like legit? Are we gonna, like, is things gonna shut down? So we were having captains meetings where we were kind of planning, but then we were not planning because we had a Europe trip that year. So we were going to Italy, and we were going to different places. And it was like, I don't know if this is going to happen. Then Italy kind of went into level 4. So like we had to move locations. We're going to go to Germany and Switzerland. And then Switzerland got a problem. So I was like, that was crazy in itself. I flew to Florida. We were going to have a nice week there. Then I was going to come back, and I was going to figure things out, whether I go home or whether I stay here. Things quickly changed. My mum got there, and then she realized that her flight had got cancelled back, because I was like, trying to figure. I'm more of a planner and control freak a little bit, whereas my mum's a bit more, we'll figure it out. So I'm like, I'm like saying to her, let's figure this out, just so then I feel more peaceful that we can enjoy this week. So we figured it out, and I wasn't going to take my flight back. I was flying straight home from England with my shorts that I'd traveled to Florida in, just straight home, left everything else here after our week there. So after that, we tried to enjoy the week. Things were starting to shut down in Florida by the end of the week. But yeah, we flew home, and then I was home from March to July, I think 28th. So
Yeah, and we had classes. You want to talk about zooming in on a student athlete? We had classes, and I had this one over the pond in my class, for crying out loud. So it was like, whoa, it was kind of a different world. So with that, your travel plans, things like that got affected. But beyond that, how did it hit you personally? How did it, it kind of explain to me how you felt about everything, your mental health status, and just kind of what were you thinking during that whole time?
well, during kind of the beginning, I mean, no one knew what was going on. So it was kind of just embrace the unknown. So once I'd got home, I kind of settled in. I was at home. I mean, we live kind of in the countryside. You're not really in a city. You're kind of in your own little bubble, I guess. So we stayed in. We followed the rules. We had like walk around a reservoir because we live on the back of a reservoir. So I was very lucky in that stance to be surrounded by family and in an area where I can work out and I can kind of get in routine with class or whatever it is. Um, but as things progressed and I was like unknown in whether we're going to have a season, like starting having those questions, and then it was unknown whether I can even get back into the country and whether student athletes can get back into the country, let alone, I mean, it's pretty obvious like normal travel wasn't a thing by this point in June, July, but there was nothing in place that if you're a student athlete or even just an international student that you can come back on your visa. Like there was nothing. There was no discussion really about you have to get tested and you come back. And it was kind of just having those discussions with each department, figuring out what they knew, then figuring out what I knew, and then kind of going from there. And that was very stressful. I mean, I'm pretty good at dealing with stress and dealing with things, but going through that when I wanted to be back, but I also, I mean, I'm a homebody, so it wasn't like I was in a happy spot, but it was out of my hands. So I was like, how do I deal with this when I can do everything and then someone can just say, you can't come back? Or there was at one point I might get on the plane and then land and then they won't let me in. So it was rough to go through that, and just every day was like a question and then no answer. And I mean, everyone was going through it. We had a group chat with different girls because there's lots of girls who are playing here and I'm friends with them and I played with them and I know them. And none of us knew. I mean, even some of the big schools didn't know, girls playing at the big schools. So it was just like, take it as it comes, I guess. I kind of dealt with that pretty well. Then I got back here and then we figure out our season's been completely cancelled. So it's now dealing with, okay, so we're going to grind pretty much for 5 months, which is a long time to grind. I mean, I like the grind process, but with no sort of ending sight, it was hard to deal with. But we figured out we're going to play games into squad on every kind of week. So we got the opportunity. It was kind of like your own game day feeling, and that definitely helped having that. But I think realizing I didn't go home for Christmas. So that hit me hard. And I've never done that. So it was, I think, realizing that and then seeing like I've gone through these last 6 months where I hadn't seen them. Or, I mean, it was kind of 4 or 5 months, but that's when it hit. Christmas is when it hit. I didn't really feel it until then. So definitely it took a while, but it hit me eventually.
So how have you kind of gotten over that hump since the Christmas time? I mean, you talked about being a control freak, right? And not having control of anything at this point. And then having a parent, I'm sure, that's saying it'll work itself out, everything's going to be great, right? And so how have you kind of transitioned now from that feeling at Christmas time to what you've got left in front of you?
Yeah. I mean, I talk to my family daily, like all the time. My mum, although she loves me. She loves, like, that's where I get my feelings from and my love for people. But my dad is system and control, and so it kind of balances itself out. We all work together and we're kind of a little solid team. So I talk with them a lot, and I'm not scared to tell them that I'm struggling, and they helped me out with that. So it hit over Christmas, and I got back here, and then we got a schedule, which helped because you have a date, that you could play. So that helped, but it's been hitting me the last week that I'm missing them, and there's nothing I can do about it. So I'm a senior, so we have senior night, and we have all this stuff coming up, and it's like I have my own family here, like my US family, and I am very grateful for the love and friendships that I've made here with families who would take me in for Thanksgivings, who would cook me meals, who would do anything for me. It's amazing the amount of love that I have out here, but there's nothing like a hug from your mom or your dad. But
not even close. There's nothing even close to that. I am in total agreement with you there. All right. So let's shift from less serious to more serious to a little less serious. So you've got some stuff coming up. You've got practices that you're going on. You got games coming up. What's happening with the women's soccer team right now? How's it look? The schedule? Talk to me about that.
Well, COVID is crazy, and going through those protocols is interesting. We come back in, you get tested, you go in your cohorts, you work within your cohort until you reach out at your certain time to make sure you're not transmitting anything if you didn't know you had it. And then once we go into that, we got into a big group. We're very excited to get into a big group, and we have just been grinding and getting ready for our first game, which is, when this is released, hopefully we're having it the next day. So it's unbelievable to think that we'll have a game, and it's almost, our last spring game was kind of February time, so it's almost been a year since I've played, which is wild to even think.
It's unheard of in the soccer world.
Unheard of. So we're just excited. We hope we get the opportunity to go out there and play and just have fun. Is like our main opportunity to just go out there and play, like for that little girl that you've been playing for, the whole time.
So their first game is next Wednesday, February 3rd, 1:00 at Carroll Stadium. And I think you can watch it. Is that correct?
Yeah, I've definitely figured out you can watch it on ESPN3 or Plus, because my parents will be tuning in at home on the sofa in their IUPUI gear. So yeah, ESPN3 or ESPN Plus, it will be live streamed.
And right now there's not a plan for any attendance, correct?
Well, actually, you're allowed four people per player, so that's lucky. We get to kind of assign those tickets, but yeah, we get some fans there, so it's definitely something.
Get a few people there, right? That's always good to have a few people. So what about the team? How's everything shaping up? You're in your cohorts. You kind of see who's kind of coming out of blooming, I guess you could call it, blooming from your cohort. But what about the rest of the group? What do you foresee for this messed up, truncated, odd season that you're about to take part in?
Yeah, going through COVID in the fall, and then we came in being prepared and taken away from us, but we kind of worked through that. It went up and down. We had our ups and downs. Definitely some really low down, but went in and we were like, we're going to use this as a reset button. And then we came back, and our team is looking more together than we have in a while. So we're excited to play, and we're excited to be around each other, and just excited to kind of move forward and just play together. We're a good group. They're a great group of girls. Even the freshmen who had their season taken away from them when it's their first year. Seniors obviously got ours taken away, but I can't imagine being a freshman going to college back when I was a freshman. So everyone's been affected in their own way, but we're all kind of leaning on each other. I'm a captain, and I'm a captain with 3 other girls as well who are great. And we kind of instill it's okay to feel things and talk to each other and be there for each other. So we're a tight-knit group, and we're ready to go out there and repeat 2017 this spring.
So I'm not a prognosticator in any way. I'm not Nostradamus, but I'm looking forward to seeing this team out here this spring. So it's been kind of an odd year in 2020 heading into 2021. And now we're getting back to some semblance of normalcy, I guess you could call it. V, is there anything else you want to say about the team, IUPUI, anything that you want to add? I'll let you close this out.
IUPUI, I mean, it's a small school. We all know that, but we've got some really good athletes here, and every team is. If you're an athlete, you grind it out. You're a workhorse, and you want to go play the game that you love. And IUPUI deserves to be on the map. Every team is putting in the work, and IUPUI wins soccer especially. They're going to be doing some special things in the next few years. I mean, this team and the next teams to come are just gonna we're going to have a few more rings and a few more championships. So watch out.
We always like to hear that. We always like to hear more rings, more championships, more banners, right? Remember, February 3rd, 1 o'clock, ESPN3, ESPN Plus. The Jags take on Cleveland State at Carroll Stadium, downtown Indianapolis. So you can watch it there. If you're one of the lucky few that maybe gets a ticket to it, enjoy it, because who knows how long we'll be able to see it. We don't even know. But thank you, V, for joining us and being the first guest on our program here. So I look forward to sharing the next one with you. And I'm not sure when that's going to be yet, but we're going to get it out there, and we're going to make sure that you know. Thanks for joining us, and have a great day.